So, someone, and I've seen people clamoring for why I haven't covered the Grung race in 5th edition. And that's because I actually did 3 years ago when they first came out. But if you're curious what any of this is about, stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Grung race. Some people reached out to me recently and said, I didn't see you cover the Grung as a playable race on your channel, and I was just curious why. And it's because I did, as I said before, in September of 2017 when they were first released. The Grung were a creature, a monster. I know they were heavily used in Tomb of Annihilation. They're sort of a poison. So if you think of a bullywug as like a bullfrog, it's in the name, bull, right? Think of a grung as like a poison dart frog. So smaller, excuse me, in size, bright, vibrant colors, greens, reds, blues, purples, yellows, with a poisonous skin, like a poison dart frog has in real life. They may have been introduced, I think they were in Volo's Guide originally, but were again featured heavily throughout the campaign, or at least in parts of it anyway, of Tomb of Annihilation. But they were originally released back in September of 2017, where right alongside Tomb of Annihilation. So if you look here, you can see that I have two videos here on the channel. Grung as a playable race, September 5th, 2017, and then Grung as not a playable race in September 2017, September 20th versus September 5th. So the reason why is as part of the Adventure League endeavor for Tomb of Annihilation. If you don't know, Tomb of Annihilation is a very lethal campaign. There's a lot of things that can kill you very easily, and they also offered the addition of the meat grinder mode, which was to fail a death saving throw, you need to roll a 14 or below rather than a 9 or below. It's a 14 or below. So 15 and above is how you succeed. And meat grinder mode rewarded you as a player by giving you more experience points and more gold. Again, I don't know if that still applies because they've changed Adventure League so much since that time. But they had developed this thing called surrogates. They were basically characters, because if your character died in Tomb of Annihilation, you could not bring them back because their soul was consumed by the soulmonger, the whole part of that campaign. So, your goal was to defeat the soulmonger, destroy it, and then the souls could be freed, and then you could be resurrected as normal. But you couldn't play. So if you made a character and your character died, you'd have to basically make a brand new character. So they developed these things called surrogates, which would basically be a character you could take on the role of until you could free your other character. And one of those, the rogue, the tier 2 rogue character, was a grung. So you were allowed to use that grung character. However, it was made, that's what the second video was, once that season is over, you could no longer play that grung. It was basically just for that season, in the moment, and that was it. So here you can see one Grung Above, which is the sort of adventure around that, designed by Chris Lindsay from Wizards of the Coast. And this was, again, released in October of 2017. So this was, once again, giving you the options for the Grung race. But you can see here, it was a stream for Extra Life, but it says it has the unofficial Grung traits used to create them. And here's this: outside of a certain surrogate character, the one I was just referencing, this document in no way makes Grung a legal playable race in the D&D Adventure League or any campaign where the Dungeon Master hates amphibians with an excess of apostrophes in their name. And yes, if you're not immune to poison and you touch the Grung to heal it, you get to make a saving throw. So again, that was the point. I actually got to play in this adventure run by Chris Lindsay himself, the guy who wrote it and designed the Grung as a creature and a race at PAX Unplugged the first year. But because you guys have asked, I'll do a quick recap of what the race is and my thoughts on it. So here we are in D&D Beyond, where everything's all set up, and this is where, again, a lot of you seem to have noticed this for the first time in February. Again, been around for 2 years. People have been playing or using them, but it seems new to a lot of folks, so let's talk about it. All right. Dex +2, Con +1, a decent set of stats, right? Everybody needs Constitution, makes a great Dex-based character. Okay, they live up to 50 years, so a short-lived race, not going to have too many long-lived Grung out there. They are small size. You get proficiency in perception, the most useful skill in the game. You have a base walking speed of 25 feet and a climbing speed of 25 feet, so no need for athletics checks on your climb. You can breathe air and water, useful. You are immune to poison in the poison condition. Previously, we'd only seen immunity to a damage type, again, specifically being poison, in one race, and that was the Yuan-Ti Pureblood. The Grung now gives you that as well, but the Grung has a trade-off, which I think makes it okay. You also have poisonous skin. Any creature that grapples you or otherwise comes into direct contact with your skin must make a DC 12 con save or become poisoned for 1 minute. A poison creature no longer in direct contact with you can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect on a success. You can also apply the poison to any piercing weapon as part of the attack with that weapon, so you don't even have to sacrifice an action to do it. Though when you hit the poison, wow, that's really hard for me to comprehend, right? Though when you hit, the poison reacts differently. The target must succeed on a DC 12 con save or take 2d4 damage. You have standing leap. Your long jump is 25 feet and your high jump is 15 feet without a running start. But your downside to all of these really good benefits here is water dependency. If you fail to immerse yourself in water or for at least 1 hour a day, you suffer 1 level of exhaustion at the end of that day. You can only recover from this exhaustion through magic or by immersing yourself in water for at least 1 hour, and you can only speak, read, and write the language Grung. So, Yuan-Ti Pureblood are often touted as being one of the most powerful, possibly game-breakingly so, races in the game because they get dark vision, they get advantage on saving throws versus magic, immunity to poison, and spells on top of everything else. Right? So a Grung does get immunity to poison in the poison condition, but they need to be immersed in water for 1 hour a day, or they gain a level of exhaustion. So you have a pretty, depending on the campaign that you're in, in Tomb of Annihilation, it's probably not as big a deal because you're in a jungle and there's water and there's lakes and things like that. But you still need to immerse yourself completely in water, which is something I feel a lot of people don't understand when they try to design these concepts for like a Grung. They want to build like a water helmet. It's not you need to have water on your face or breathing water for an hour. You need to fully submerge your body in water, your entire body. Now, maybe you're going to do something crazy with a large reduce spell and you're already small size, so you shrink yourself even smaller, and then you have a smaller bowl of water that you jump in. Maybe you have a portable hole with water that you jump in to get yourself cooled off that way. So there's ways to get around it, by for sure. There's definitely ways to do so. But again, fully immersed in the pool. So you can breathe air and water. The poison skin is pretty nice. You could do a probably sub-optimized build where you are sort of a grappler. And so if you're grappling someone, they're poisoned when you do that. That could be something. But they make, as you can clearly tell by the stats and the surrogate character, an excellent rogue, right? You have perception inborn. You can climb base. You're immune to poison. You get dexterity as a stat bonus. And you can, as part of the attack, apply your poison to a weapon. And here's the thing. It doesn't go away. It's not like you can do this once per short or long rest. You can apply that poison to every weapon attack you make every time, regardless. Now, it is only a DC 12 save or take the damage, so if they succeed on the save, they take no damage. So that's not too bad, but it's a potential 2d4 poison damage, possibly every time if they roll really poorly on their con saves. Again, I know poison is heavily resisted and there's a lot of immunity to poison damage as monsters in Dungeons & Dragons, but, I mean, I imagine this is more like an assassin type where you're attacking humanoid people, so you might get that extra poison damage, and especially at low levels, this will be very useful. The fact that you can't poison yourself, and, again, you can apply this every time as part of the attack. You don't even waste an action, so you could use a bonus action to disengage, apply it to a dagger and stab somebody and move away. You could apply it to an arrow on a short bow and shoot somebody. Very cool. And again, the 25-foot long jump and 15-foot high jump is nothing to shake a stick at either. That could get you onto the roofs of various buildings, and you have the 25-foot climb speed, so you can use that to your advantage. Um, Now, again, that level of exhaustion, you need to immerse yourself in water for 1 hour a day. But you can still remove the exhaustion. So, normally, the way you can get rid of a level of exhaustion is you take a long rest and you remove one level of exhaustion at the end of that long rest. That doesn't change for you if you gained exhaustion through water dependency. You will need to either use magic, something like a greater restoration or more powerful, to remove the exhaustion, or immerse yourself in water for at least 1 hour. That will be how you get rid of it. So you could, it gets a little funky, right? Because you could potentially have exhaustion from multiple sources. The levels of exhaustion will still stack, but potentially if it's from, staying awake all night, you could have one level of exhaustion from that, and then one level from water dependency. One can go away on a long rest, one can go away from immersion in water. So there's different, things to think about with that. So that could be, it's not crazy, but that could be something funky. Again, I'm sure people will come up with other creative ways to immerse yourself in water. I think the portable hole filled with water is possibly a good one. Or again, shrink yourself down real small. When I played this with Chris Lindsay as well, I'll just say it doesn't specifically state it here, but I will tell you what he did. That he said, as Grung, we had, we're tree frogs essentially. He let us climb with our climb speed basically on any surface as long as it wasn't completely upside down. So we could, like a frog, climb on walls as long as we weren't like climbing on the ceiling, directly hanging upside down. Even though I think some frogs can do that, we could climb any vertical, like any kind of incline or like a vertical surface as long as it wasn't the ceiling. He let us climb on that with our climb speed with no additional checks required. It doesn't state that you can do that here, but that was something the creator of the race and the adventure designed for it allowed us to do. So if you want to think about that, maybe that is something you want to incorporate in your game. So that's a quick overview of the Grung themselves. They're really cool. I love amphibian races. I've stated this before. Amphibian and reptiles I'm a big fan of, so I enjoy playing those. I've not played a Grung in any one of my campaigns yet, but I would 100% allow this at my table. If someone wanted to play a Grung in any one of my campaigns, I would 100% allow them to do so. And, I would be willing to entertain creative ideas to get around the water dependency. I wouldn't remove it entirely, as that is part of the offset of the class, right? Like, you don't want to be a Grung in a desert, right? That's not going to go well for you. Or, in a metropolis area with no access to water, which obviously would never be the case, but you get my point. I don't know. I really like them. I think they're cool. The color scheme is unique. Grung have their society, at least from what I remember in Tomb of Annihilation, is based on the colors as well, right? So depending on what color Grung you are, you may be higher up or higher ranking, or I think it might also be tied to what your abilities are, right? Like I think a spellcasting Grung was one color versus like a martial fighter type Grung. Again, really cool stuff. They're small size, so you could ride giant frogs. There's a lot of neat stuff you could do. I like them a lot. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Grung below. Was this the first time you heard about them when the Grung became available on D&D Beyond, or have you, like me, been aware of them for several years at this point? And if so, either way, have you gotten a chance to play one? What was it like? Did you suffer horribly with the water dependency, or were you able to find easy ways to get around it? I want to know. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like what I do here, covering D&D news and other stuff like this, and you haven't subscribed to the channel, now would be a great opportunity to do so. And you can also ring the notification bell to stay up to date. I do put out videos at least once a day. Sometimes with these news things, as more information drops, I put out multiple videos a day, trying to cover as much as possible. So you may want to do that to stay up to date as to what is going on. I also have a giveaway going on now for 20K subscribers here on YouTube, so there'll be a link in the description if you'd like to check that out as well. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.